Yeah, cool, cool. So, yeah, welcome everyone to our general meeting. Yeah, we're super excited to have some guest speakers here, and we'll be talking more about them in a bit. But yeah, so I just wanted to start with a few announcements that we had. So, we recently split off into Friday and Saturday meetings. So, we'll actually be having another meeting tomorrow. So, I guess it's not really applicable to those here, but yeah, basically, for those who can't make it on Friday because we had like a bunch of people reach out, we started up the Saturday meeting. So, yeah, that will be tomorrow at 4. And another cool thing is that we'll be having the our first in-person meeting since COVID actually. So yeah, like since 2020. So we're super excited. That will be March 26th at 3 at Highland campus. And I believe we're finalizing the room with Student Life, but basically we'll just be there for a couple hours and yeah, we'll have food there and stuff. So it'll be really good. Um, yeah, so did you want to talk about the inviting people,
Yeah.
Jacob?
Yeah, so I actually wanted to share my screen real quick just to show you guys. Let me see. I will show. Oh yeah, I can specify. Okay, so um coming up this Sunday is going to be where we send our where the prize is going to be sent out to whoever gets the most invites. So I highly encourage everyone to go out and invite as many people as you can possibly. Just it doesn't matter who, as long as they're an ACC student. How you can do that is just go right up here at the top of the Discord server, click on invite people, and you can just actually edit the invite link so that it doesn't expire immediately, and just put it to no limit, and then just put the expire after to never, so it just never expires. And then you got your invite link here. Doesn't matter where you send it, you can send it here, and it'll just, and anybody can click on that and then just go ahead and join the server. And we'll be keeping account of that by the end of this end of Sunday. So just spam it wherever you can.
Yeah. Yeah, and Jacob's actually our outreach manager. So yeah, that's really cool. So yeah, we actually have the a prize in hand. So basically, that prize will be shipped out to you, and it's a pretty nice prize. So yeah, we'll announce that on Sunday. Yeah. So can you all see my screen again? Cool.
Should I show the prize?
Oh yeah,
Yes.
sure.
Oh, sure.
Okay, let me get it. By the way, everyone, I'm Malik. It's nice to meet you, or it's nice to meet you for the second time, Owen, and nice to meet you, Max. You guys are from Texas Blockchain, right? Sorry, I've been out for a bit, and I'm just coming into the meeting. I was a bit under the weather. I was getting some like acetaminophen or whatever to alleviate some of the congestion. But yeah,
Yeah,
let me go get the prize.
no worries, man. Hopefully you feel better. Hopefully that
Thank
works.
you, thank you.
Cool, cool. Yeah, no, yeah, while Malik goes and grabs the prize, our last announcement is that we
So,
have our. Oh, go ahead,
so
go ahead.
here's the little prize. It's not little, maybe little in
Ooh.
size, but it's like a Logitech mouse. It's one of the nicer ones. So this is for all your like coding and like gaming needs. So it'll make
Yeah.
sure that you're a very productive and comfortable
I'm, pre- I'm pretty sure it's one of
coder.
those aerodynamic mouses so that it doesn't make your hand cramp horribly after a while.
Yeah, ergonomic and like I don't know if it's one of those like vertical mice that prevents like carpal tunnel, but it's pretty good.
Yeah, I actually like I was checking the logs and I'm actually in the lead and I'll take the mouse if I win. So y'all better start inviting people.
Yo, hold up.
Yo, rigged? No.
All right.
That's not a lie, by the way, guys. He is in the lead.
I actually am.
Dang it.
All right. So our last announcement before we get into the presentation is that we'll be having a hackathon at Highland Campus in late April. So we're still coordinating with sponsors and all of that stuff, but yeah, we'll be announcing it really soon. And yeah, it's going to be I think Friday to Saturday since ACC isn't open on a Sunday. Yeah, but yeah, those are the announcements that we had. And yeah, with that being said, I just wanted to hand it over to the Texas Blockchain Club.
Hey, what's up, guys? I'll give a brief intro and then I'll hand it over to Max to give a brief intro. But like he said, from the Texas Blockchain Club. I'm currently the president, but I've been in the club since when I got here as a freshman. They were literally like met one of the founders, and they were literally like, "Hey, we need teaching assistants," and it was such a small club that there was literally no one that had the required skills or the knowledge. So I was literally like, "I'll be a teaching assistant," and here I am, like 3 years later, still in the same club, and I spent some time building it up along with Max, and it's been a really great time and a really great way to learn and meet a lot of cool people. But we're actually here not only to represent the Texas Blockchain Club, but to also represent Quai, which was actually founded by former Texas Blockchain members. And so Quai, we'll talk a little bit about what Quai is, and also give a little bit of an intro, just kind of some of the key concepts within blockchain, kind of a place to get started for you to do some more research, and we can definitely point you in the right direction. But yeah, that's a little bit about me, and I'm going to hand it over to Max so he can introduce himself.
Sounds good. Hey guys, I'm Max. Like Owen, I'm a junior at UT and I've been a member of the Texas Blockchain Club since freshman year. Like Owen said, it was really small when we got there, so it was a great opportunity to get in on the ground floor and meet a bunch of people and actually build out like the crypto space at UT. I was another TA with Owen. We taught the intro to blockchain class. We're still doing it this year. It's like our 4th semester or something. But that's our history. I've been in crypto since around 2015 or so. Just learned about Bitcoin and tried mining on like my old gaming PC, and just learned about it and fell in love with it. And Austin is such a hot spot for crypto that decided to go to UT to stick with it. So I'm really excited to show you all this presentation and just give a baseline for crypto and Quai. So toss it back to Owen if you want to start the slide set.
Yeah. Can you all see my screen?
No.
Yeah.
No, we can't see it.
No? Okay, give me 1 second.
Should be a
Would
present
get-
now button.
Okay, cool. Yeah, it should be.
Oop.
Can y'all see it now?
It's loading.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yes.
Cool. Yeah, so like I said, there's going to be an intro to crypto lecture, and it's technically presented by Quai Network, but also presented by the Texas Blockchain Club. And yeah, one thing I wanted to highlight kind of before I got in that Max reminded me of is kind of why I like blockchain. I originally got to UT and I kind of thought that I wanted to be an entrepreneur, and I really just needed somewhere to get started. And I wanted something that had a lot of opportunities and also was kind of a new landscape, because in those new landscapes, like, you can really have an impact more so than if you go to a traditional company or you try to innovate in a space that's already been innovate, or like already the barriers to innovate are super high because it's just been around for so long. And another advantage of a new technology is how everybody wants to help you. And everybody wants to talk to you regardless of who you are, as long as you want to learn and you have the shared passion. And that's honestly one of the coolest things about blockchain. You can really just message someone on LinkedIn, and almost anyone, regardless of their position, will respond. And especially in in-person meetups too, they really just want to share knowledge, people that are on the same path as them. And that's something that I really like to highlight because it's something that's really appealing to me. So yeah, go ahead and get into it.
Yeah, not to jump in, Owen, but a great example that I'd love to bring up really quick is like when I went to one of those meetups as a sophomore in high school. I went to a blockchain like conference in Austin, and a Bitcoin core dev took the time to hear my arguments with him about like why I thought Bitcoin Cash was better. And he was like a literal Bitcoin core developer, took the time to argue with a high schooler about blockchain just because he knew that I was interested in it. So all of these guys really want to help you out, and everyone's really accessible still. So yeah, great point on.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, that's pretty crazy. I didn't know that story, so that's awesome. Yeah, so just to get a kind of brief overview of the very basics of what a crypto system looks like. So in a traditional system, you have a centralized server that is going to be communicating with the users and also going to be communicating with other people. So if I'm working on a Google Sheets, I get on my computer and I start typing on the Google Sheets, and it sends whatever I'm doing to the Google Sheets servers, or however they actually run it there at Google. But it sends it to a centralized server, and then it sends it back to my computer. It sends it back to other computers that are all working the same kind of document. But there are inherent problems with centralized systems because they have complete power. There's a phrase, absolute power corrupts absolutely. And there are so many examples of that within the real world. I mean, just to name a few, you have Facebook, you have the Russian government, you have so many examples in the modern world of why centralized systems are a disservice to us and why they can't be trusted with our data, can't be trusted with our best interests. And that's what blockchain is really trying to solve. So in a decentralized system, instead of them communicating with a centralized server that's completely controlled by one organization, then the computers in the network are actually communicating with each other. And they're the ones verifying from each other whether a transaction is legitimate or whether that computer is actually interacting in a positive way for the blockchain system as a whole. And we'll kind of break that down a little bit of how that actually works without getting too technical. But I always show this one when I'm talking about what blockchain is, this video from The Simpsons, because it's a really fun way, and they do a really good explanation of what actually blockchain is and crypto is. So I'm going to show this video really quickly.
Oh, no audio is playing.
Yeah, I can hear it.
There's no audio playing?
Yeah, sometimes when you
Okay,
share it, when you share it, there's sometimes an option that pops up saying you want to share the computer's audio as well.
Okay, I'll have to check on that.
Yeah, it might be like share tab or something instead of share window. It's weird.
Okay, I think. Would it be
I
in
would just
settings
stop
or?
presenting and try starting it again.
Sometimes it happens like the second you decide to present. So maybe when you click the button, it'll say something about sharing the audio.
I'm pretty sure it's like
Okay,
share tab.
Okay, I just shared the tab, so maybe this will work.
Super cool.
I heard super cool. So
It
yeah.
worked.
Click link to
Yeah, it's really good.
TV's most beloved scientist, Mr. Jim Parsons.
People think I'm a nerd, but I'm actually super cool. That's why I'm here to talk about the really cool subject of distributed consensus-based cryptocurrency. Kachinga. Could a nerd do that? I don't think so. For cryptocurrency to work, we need a record of every transaction that occurs. These are recorded in what's called a distributed ledger.
I'm a consensus of shared and synchronized digital data spread across multiple platforms from Shanghai to Grenada. Each day I'm closer to being cash of the future, not in your wallet, I'm in your computer. Oh yeah.
When you use the currency, the transaction is recorded in the ledger.
I can dig it.
And when one ledger book gets filled up, we add to a chain of previous books. That's the blockchain.
Later, glitches.
If you'd like to learn more about how cryptocurrencies work, here.
Yeah, so that's one of the videos I like to show. Gives like a brief intro to what blockchain is, but I'll get back to the presentation. So yeah. So what we talked about what a decentralized system is and how that differs from a traditional system, but what is actually making up this network of computers? So in any blockchain network that uses proof of work, which is right now the two main ones are Bitcoin and Ethereum. Quai uses it as well, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. But in any proof of work system, you're going to have nodes and miners. So any computer that connects to the Bitcoin network is going to be a node. So in the previous example, each one of those computers that we showed, that's a node. And then on the other thing they have in a network is called miners. And so all miners are going to be nodes, but not all nodes are miners. And the reason for this is because miners are nodes that are competing to add transactions to the ledger. So when I'm interacting in a blockchain space and I actually want to send a transaction, the only way that I'm going to be able to send a transaction is if a miner sees my transaction, verifies that it's legitimate, and then adds it to their block. And that's really important because the miners and nodes interact with a system where the miners actually create the blocks, they solve a puzzle, and if they solve this puzzle right, they'll actually be able to add that block to the blockchain. But in order to add it to the blockchain, you need to verify that it's correct. So these miners need to have checks and balances, and that's what these nodes are for. So these miners will get a valid block or block that they think is valid and send it around to all the other nodes. And the nodes are going to verify that they're not trying to pull anything on them. They're going to make sure that the Bitcoin hasn't been sent before. They're going to make sure that they're not any spamming within the system, just things like that. And so that's kind of how the decentralized system interacts at a very high level. But let's kind of take a step back and let's kind of just talk about the individual crypto assets in general. So the first one is cryptocurrencies, which you guys definitely have heard of. You've heard of things like Bitcoin or Ethereum. You might have even heard of Cardano. You might have heard of Solana. There's thousands of cryptocurrencies, and you've definitely heard of them. The other one is utility tokens. So utility tokens are specifically used to access features of a decentralized application. So you might not have heard of these because these are like very specialized things, but there's apps such as Steem or Sia or Augur that allow you to actually interact with a decentralized application, and we'll kind of talk about some examples of those later. And then there are security tokens. So security tokens represent real world or digital assets. So an example of something that it could represent is a house with real estate, or it could represent a stock. There are stocks on decentralized exchanges that are digital representations of the real world counterpart. And then something that you've also probably heard of is non-fungible tokens. So non-fungible tokens are just unique digital collectibles that are backed up with the security of the blockchain. And we'll kind of talk about NFTs specifically a little bit later. But before that, I kind of wanted to give you a little bit of history on how Bitcoin came to be. Because it's important to realize that Bitcoin wasn't just something that was made out of thin air. It wasn't like just somebody sitting down and started cranking away, writing the Bitcoin core code. It actually took many years of development and iterations off of things that weren't actually trying to be Bitcoin. They were just things that were made by these people called the cypherpunks, which were basically really smart computer scientists that believed in things like preserving personal privacy. And they happened to have a mailing list where they would all share the things that they had tried and the things that they had learned. So in 1992 specifically, though, Eric Hughes, a mathematician from Berkeley, they kind of meet and foresee kind of a corruptible internet. They see the problems of what's happening, especially with centralized entities controlling such a valuable resource, and they want to prevent against that. So like I said, they start a mailing list for people to talk about mathematics, cryptography, computer science, and political ideals. A lot of crypto is rooted in libertarianism, and a lot of the Bitcoin features are you can kind of tell where that libertarian influence comes from. But their manifesto, which kind of shows what they believe in, is that privacy is necessary for an open society in the electronic age. Privacy is not a secrecy. a private matter is something one does not want the whole world to know, but a secret matter is something that one doesn't want anybody to know. So yeah. So going more on the Cypherpunk Manifesto, what they really believe in, we cannot expect governments, corporations, or other large faceless organizations to grant us privacy out of their benevolence. We need to defend our privacy with cryptography, with anonymous mail forwarding systems, digital signatures, and with electronic money. So this was written in 1993, way before a lot of the internet that you know today has been created. So, they foresaw the problems that we're dealing with right now. And they were trying things to kind of combat that. So the first pre-Bitcoin attempts were the ones listed here. So with the first one being DigiCash in 1989. And what this allowed, what this brought was public key cryptography to anonymize senders and receivers. So that's actually really important for Bitcoin. A lot of people think that, especially because it's kind of had like a bad rap with the fact that it's been used for buying drugs on the internet or been used for other legal purposes, that it is geared toward that, and it actually is like useful for that. But Bitcoin's not anonymous. While the senders and receivers don't have like a identity attached to them, once you get someone's actual keys and you attach their identity to it, the Bitcoin blockchain is an open ledger. So you can actually see exactly what the wallet is doing with the Bitcoin that they have. And then in 1997, Hashcash was created by Adam Black, which was a cryptographic hash function for issuance. And then it was an email spam prevention tool that evolved into proof of work. And one of the innovations of proof of work is the fact that it is spam resistant. So this is a really important innovation. And then in 1998, there was B-Money, which was a distributed ledger maintained by the users. And then in 2004, there was reusable proof of work by Hal Finney, which created cryptographic tokens generated by proof of work that can be spent. And just a little side note, a lot of people think Hal Finney could be Satoshi. It's not proven, but it's just something I think is interesting. And then in 2005, BitGold was created by Nick Szabo, and it had timestamps to identify each reusable proof of work token. So there was a lot of innovations that led up to Bitcoin. But Satoshi Nakamoto was actually the person who kind of put all of these iterations and innovations that have been created over the last decades and put them into one thing. So it was actually really cool. Bitcoin has become such a big thing, but in the early days, it was just some guy who had a white paper who just had like basically the equivalent of like a research paper on a theoretical system. And you can actually read the Bitcoin white paper as it was sent around in the mailing list. And it's some pretty cool stuff to see how it actually went down. And you can actually see Satoshi was very active on the chat forums and stuff when they were actually when he was actually active in developing Bitcoin. And you can see his opinions, which is really cool. They're still up today. But yeah, you can see his kind of opinions. Developed a new open source peer-to-peer e-cash system called Bitcoin, which is completely decentralized, no central server or trusted party, because everything is based on crypto proof instead of trust. So that's a big, trust is a big thing within the crypto space, because you're not trusting on a single entity. You're not trusting in a centralized server. You're trusting in the technology, and that you don't have to have trust because you have this technology. So it's taking the trust out of it. So why would Satoshi Nakamoto create something like Bitcoin? So we talked about the cypherpunk movement, and we talked about the kind of values that underpin that, but it came at a time when the world was very unstable and the world was looking at the banks as kind of the enemy. So a lot of people think that a lot of people kind of, and it kind of goes along with Bitcoin's narrative, that it is a store of value. And a lot of people think that it was created as kind of a hedge against kind of inflation and against the central bank's control of our money. But there's not really an official statement from Satoshi on why he created it. But this is a really good quote because it kind of outlines why people could think that. So the root problem with conventional currency is all trust that's required to make it work. The central bank must be trusted not to debase the currency, but history is full of breaches of that trust. Banks must be trusted to hold our money and transfer electronically, but they lend it out in waves of credit bubbles with barely a fraction in reserve. We have to trust them with our privacy, trust them not to let identity thieves drain our accounts, and their massive overhead costs make micropayments impossible. So all those things are pretty true. I mean, especially if you look at the recent events within the United States government, 40% of all the money created has been created in the last year. And that's led to a lot of inflation. Obviously, gas is expensive because we're in almost going to be in a war with Russia, which is one of the biggest oil suppliers, but it's also expensive because of the inflation. And so you see that in your everyday when prices are going up. So it's something to really pay attention to and to understand why that's happening and how cryptocurrencies or how Bitcoin specifically can stave off inflation or be a hedge against it. So anyway, going on to kind of the beginning of Bitcoin. So in 2009, Satoshi mined the first Genesis block. And he actually quoted a news article from the Times that said, "Chancellor on the brink of second bailout for banks." So if you think about it, this is probably more evidence for people to say that Satoshi kind of created Bitcoin to kind of hedge against the problems of the centralized banks, especially regarding the bailout of these banks, because a lot of people saw that as corrupt. And yeah. And then in 2009, the first transaction was sent to Hal Finney. And then a little fun fact is that Hal Finney was chose to be cryogenically frozen. So yeah, there was a ton of bugs within Bitcoin's code. And these are kind of links to him kind of talking about it and working through it.
Oh, and you should click those links. Show the bug on the Bitcoin Talk forum.
Yeah, it's actually a really great bug.
Yeah, it's a pretty amazing bug.
This is the one where it was like 21 billion was created, right?
Yeah. So basically, one block minted like 7 or 27 billion Bitcoin or something, or 92 something. Yeah, it minted out like basically multiple times more than the total supply of Bitcoin was supposed to be. So it caused like chaos within like the Bitcoin Talk forums, but the community was able to band together. Satoshi, and like the great part about all this is like you can go to bitcointalk.org right now and read through and see like what was the community's response to like this, software breaking bug, and then how did the developers respond to it and work together. All of this happened in a public forum. So yeah, it's a great like little historical record if you find that kind of stuff interesting.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, looking at it from our perspective of working with Kwai, and honestly, just in development in general, like there are always, first off, things always take more time, so you need to leave time for that. But then second off, there's always like bugs that you wouldn't really expect. Like there's always gonna be things that come up, especially with like we had our testnet recently, and we were expecting 200 people, and 800 people ended up signing up in like the first day, and our solution, our blockchain solution is scalable. Like unlimited amount of nodes could technically join, but like the actual Web2 infrastructure that was showing our like node status, like for people to check if their node was running, was actually so over demanded that it ended up crashing like so many times. We had to keep on upgrading it. So there are always gonna be bugs, and yeah, they're pretty cool with the context of having worked in a layer one, looking back and seeing Bitcoin's bugs. But yeah, going on to NFTs. So NFTs are kind of the new wave of digital decentralized art. I'm sure you've seen headlines of people making hundreds of thousands of dollars, even millions of dollars, depending on what NFT they're in. And a lot of that is hype. A lot of that is in a couple years, a lot of those NFTs won't be around. But there are blue chip NFTs that have been around since the beginning that are probably going to exist for the long term. And if you ever get a chance to get one, should think about it. But the first NFT ever created on Ethereum was actually called CryptoPunks. And the CryptoPunk floor is, I'm not sure off the top of my head, but I know it's like almost 100 ETH, I think. Anyway, it's millions of dollars for an actual CryptoPunk. And at the beginning, they were free. They were literally just things created as kind of like a joke or a meme, and then you can mint them for free, and people just use it as a profile picture to like let them know they were in crypto. But that's pretty much all it was used for. And then a couple of years later, as NFTs started to blow up, they started to get more and more valuable because they had this cultural impact and were a part of crypto's history in general. So, just if you look at like art collecting in general, people want things that have the most cultural impact and the most tangible history. And so an NFT like CryptoPunks is always going to have a lot of value because it has those. But yeah, another one like that is CryptoKitties. And CryptoKitties was kind of the second one, and actually was the first one to create a standard for the NFTs, which is called ERC 721, which almost every NFT in existence use, besides some that do batch minting. But like that's really the standard, and they kind of they paved the way for that. And they're really just cats that you can kind of send to people and interact with and play with them. And breed them, make new ones. But yeah, they're really just digital assets that are meant to be unique. And the reason why they have such high value and why they could be thought of as a better collectible is because of their non-fungible status. So in a cryptocurrency like Bitcoin, things are fungible, which means that they can be broken apart. They can be there's always gonna be more Bitcoins, and you can exchange a Bitcoin for a monetary value. You can exchange a Bitcoin for another value. But with a non-fungible token, they have a complete unique identity. And even if you create the same image for one, like if you had an NFT of the same exact image, like it's still going to have different metadata, and it's still going to have a different hash when you mint it. So it's still technically unique. So that's why they have the value that they do. But I just wanted to highlight some kind of cool ones that have kind of made the headlines. So who of y'all have heard about like Beeple or the record-setting NFT before? Just out of curiosity. I actually can't see, but if you haven't, you guys should go check it out. Beeple is an NFT artist, and he ended up making a collection of about 500. And on his last day, he made one with all of them, and they got to an insane valuation, setting for $70 million, which is a ton of money. It's the highest paid one right now, and it probably will be for a long time. But NFTs are not just digital collectibles. They're also actual functionality within them. And one of the things that I think is really cool is ZedRun. So ZedRun is a platform that allows you to actually race and bet on digital horses with their own individual characteristics. So, horse betting is a huge thing. And digital horse trading has also become a huge thing. And you can actually breed these horses, and they have monetary value. So you can actually look at them as investments. And the more races they win, the more money you get. So there are some really cool kind of innovations being made with that. And there's more games like Axie Infinity that are actually making it so that you can have a career off gaming, because they reward you with crypto assets that you can actually exchange and sell. So yeah. So let's kind of talk about what Bitcoin versus Ethereum is. So this is going to be very high level, and it's not going to get into everything, but Bitcoin is essentially digital gold. So it's very simple and robust, but it can primarily only do one thing, and that's send and receive. So it's very limited in its ability to actually like create new things. Like a lot of people tried to actually make NFTs on Bitcoin. They were called color coins, but they didn't really work, and they weren't really the same thing. So, and they also, the Bitcoin blockchain only updates every 10 minutes. So while it has its like purpose and like it has its security and it's great, people saw, and specifically Vitalik saw, that there was an opportunity for more. And that's what Ethereum came in. So Ethereum was created so that they could do more with the blockchain. And it really is about programmable value. So with Bitcoin, you can only send and receive, but on Ethereum, you can have smart contracts, which allow you to do a lot more things, pretty much limitless amount of things with crypto. So it also has a much bigger blockchain, and that's because there's transactions happening every 12 to 14 seconds. But it is starting with the same kind of technology. It uses proof of work. It is shifting proof of stake. But yeah, it is upgraded Bitcoin kind of thing, or Bitcoin with the ability to have smart contracts. So what is a smart contract? So a smart contract is a digital self-executing agreement. So you have to have the addresses, you have to have the conditions, you have to have the executable code. But really, it's just a self-executing agreement. And you interact with self-executing agreements if you've ever used a vending machine. So when you go to a vending machine, all you do is press B4 and enter your money, and then you know that it's going to drop down the snack that you want. And Ethereum is the same way. Whenever I interact with a decentralized application, I put in whatever crypto assets I have, and as long as I can, and you do want to verify the code, obviously, and as long as I have verified and trust that the code is there, or maybe someone else has verified, it's going to do what it says it's going to do automatically. So why would you want smart contracts? So the first reason is because it decreases trust in third-party enforcers. So you don't actually need to worry about legality or them like not doing something, because it's all enforced within the smart contract. So they can't back out even if they wanted to, because it's automatically executed. And it's all open source, so you can verify what's happening behind the scenes. And if you want to be anonymous, or if you want to transact with somebody across the globe, you can do that very easily, because all you need is an internet connection to interact with a smart contract. So what are kind of the current applications? So at the beginning, there was a lot of hype about like blockchains for businesses. And one of those applications is the IBM Food Trust, and they actually track their supply chain using blockchain technology. And it's actually had some pretty measurable increases in efficiency from finding like specific like contaminations from like months taking, or from taking months to taking minutes. So there's some pretty cool things. And then business to consumer, there's healthcare records, digital identity. There's things like Amazon, or like a decentralized Amazon. There's decentralized social media. And then there's protocol consumer, which are decentralized applications that I talked about. So these are really popular in the blockchain space. And some of the examples of them would be Uniswap or SushiSwap or Rari Financial. And a lot of them focus on decentralized exchanges and decentralized finance. So decentralized exchanges allow you to do something like Coinbase, but have it actually be decentralized and controlled by the peers. And so you can swap crypto assets. And then decentralized finance allows you to lend and borrow without actually interacting with anybody ever, without actually having to have a credit score. Instead, all you have to have is the collateral to back up your assets. So why wouldn't you want a smart contract? So one of the reasons you wouldn't want a smart contract is you're trusting in external data. So if a smart contract is taking data from, like, let's say Chainlink or some other oracle, if that oracle messes up, it's going to automatically execute something on bad data. So if, let's say, the oracle messes up and says Ethereum is $500,000, and then your smart contract says when Ethereum hits, or let's say the opposite, because it's a more relevant example. In decentralized finance, when you hit a certain low point on your actual initial investment, you automatically get liquidated. And so if that oracle tells you that the price is really low, it's going to automatically liquidate you, which is going to be really bad for your financial position. So, trusting in a smart contract isn't just about trusting in a smart contract, it's also about trusting in the oracle. And also, developers are not lawyers. There's a lot of things that could be illegal or you don't really know happening behind the scenes. Another thing is they're complex. There's a ton of hacks all the time because this technology is still new. And then they're also inefficient and costly. And we'll kind of talk about that. And that's why Kwai is very important. So the Ethereum virtual machine is just something that executes contract code. So every Ethereum node is running the EVM, and it compiles EVM bytecode from Solidity. And then each operation is going to cost gas. So when you're interacting with the blockchain, you actually have to have gas for it, which is just Ether. And Ether has a monetary value, so it does cost money. But yeah. So how should you get started with the blockchain space? So MetaMask is a wallet. Remix is a way for you to edit and deploy smart contracts. OpenZeppelin is basically a library of smart contracts, which have almost anything you could need. And so if you are creating smart contracts, you'll definitely be using OpenZeppelin, especially if you are making NFTs. OpenZeppelin has the standard already made. And then what I would say for y'all, the best thing you can do is start with the Udemy full stack course, because full stack is still the primary way to interact with blockchain decentralized applications. And you not only need Solidity, but you need JavaScript. So I would say the first thing you should do is learn JavaScript, and then learn React, and then learn Solidity, and then learn Web3.js, and you'll have the full pipeline of being able to create a front end and then create a back end in Solidity, and then have the two interact. So that's kind of the way to get started, and I'll kind of pass it off to Max to talk about the blockchain trilemma.
Hi guys, I know we don't have a ton of time left, so I'll try and keep things quick. And I just want to tell y'all, so Owen talked about how great blockchains are and all the amazing things you can do on them, but the big issue that all the great minds in blockchain have been working on cracking for years now is called the blockchain trilemma. And essentially, it's the idea that there are three key aspects to a blockchain. There's scalability, there's security, and there's decentralization. And the idea of the blockchain trilemma is that all three of those are essentially a zero-sum game. So any increase in decentralization and security would come at a sacrifice of scalability, or any increase in security, for example, would have to come at a sacrifice of scalability or decentralization. So the idea is that every single new blockchain has to pick and choose on this trilemma where they want to make their sacrifices. Do you want to be the most secure blockchain, but not be able to handle very many transactions per second? Or do you want to be super fast, but maybe only have a couple centralized nodes? So that's what we call the blockchain trilemma. And that's what we went into Kwai with the intentions of cracking, because we truly believe that no cryptocurrency can achieve world adoption if they make sacrifices on any of these three key traits of a blockchain. So, and if you could take me to the next slide real quick, I'll give a brief introduction to Kwai and how we do this without making any sacrifices. It's a technology called merged mining, and I don't have time to go through all of the details of it right now, but it was theorized by Satoshi himself in 2010 on the Bitcoin Talk forum. And to talk about development, he proposed the idea that a separate blockchain from Bitcoin could share miners and hash power with another chain by exchanging work in the header of blocks. And essentially all that means is Bitcoin miners will be able to apply that work to another blockchain as well, essentially securing two blockchains at once with one miner. And so Kwai took that theory and kind of built it out into to what we call a merged mind hierarchical network. So we are a network of 13 unique blockchains, and all of them are merged mind, like Satoshi, theorized and came up with. We have one group of miners. There is not a different group of miners for each chain. All Kwai miners are able to mine multiple chains at once, and that's how we're able to crack that problem. So to give a brief description of how Kwai works, we have our base chain at the top. We call that the prime chain, and you can think of that like the Ethereum chain. It's pretty slow. We get a block about every 10 minutes or so, but every single miner mining Kwai is mining the prime chain. Subordinate to that, we have region chains. We have 3 region chains, and a subset of the miners mining the prime chain, so say a third of miners mining the prime chain, choose to mine one region chain. So miners select out of the 3 which one region they would like to mine in addition to the prime chain. And then from there, once they've selected their region, you can go down another level and see that there are 3 zone chains under each region. Once the miner has selected, they know they're going to mine the prime chain, they choose which region they want to mine. Now they finally choose which one of the 3 zone chains under that region that they chose they would like to mine as well. So each miner within Kwai network is mining 3 chains at once. And that is what allows us to achieve scalability along with security and decentralization, is because we're not forcing centralization by limiting the number of nodes or miners in any way. We're still allowing, just like Bitcoin, anyone can run a node, anyone can run a miner. The only difference is we're essentially able to run multiple hyper-efficient chains at the same time, as opposed to one monolithic chain like Ethereum. And the really important thing that I would just like y'all to take away is current blockchains have problems, and whether you pay close attention or not, you will start to see those problems manifest. I'll go through some of your favorite chains for examples. Bitcoin saw transaction fees as high as $50 in 2017, which caused Bitcoin Cash to become a spin-off, forked off. Solana has recently been experiencing a ton of downtime because they decided they wanted to sacrifice they sacrificed decentralization for speed, and in doing that, they made their system more centralized, more prone to attack. And Ethereum, is the prime example of sacrificing scalability. I pretty much daily pay over $100 to get a transaction out on Ethereum. So there are some serious problems in pretty much every blockchain out there. Even if you don't pay attention, you should be aware that every single blockchain has to make sacrifices and trade-offs in the trilemma, except Kwai Network. It is the only blockchain that has successfully cracked the trilemma. And yes, I work for them, but I also truly know that to be true. So that's really all I have. I know we got a couple minutes left, so Owen and I are happy to answer any questions anyone may have. I know we've covered a ton of information, so any questions at all, we're here and we'd love to help.
It is an open forum, y'all, so feel free to speak up. But if not, I understand, considering how much information we were given.
Yeah, it's definitely a huge field, and if you are interested in learning more, always just Google is your best friend. You can Google everything. I see a hand. Just feel free to speak up if you have a question.
Yeah, I had a question. It was more about NFT because I still don't comprehend. So is it because I know it could be art, and then you said I forgot the other things. So does the person who creates this NFT, could he literally be a graphical designer that just creates a random piece of art, or? Yeah,
so an NFT is, the name is just a non-fungible token. So by definition, all it is a cryptographic token that is not fungible. And what that means is when you think of Bitcoin, one Bitcoin equals one Bitcoin. So you can exchange Bitcoin and they're all worth the same amount. And Ethereum, 1 Ethereum equals 1 Ethereum. So those are all fungible. Each token is functionally the same. The difference with non-fungible tokens is each one of those tokens is unique. They're not interchangeable, so they all have some sort of unique either trait. So it can be art that is, has unique iterations, or there are NFTs out there that have no art attached to them and are just a token that is not exchangeable with other tokens in collection. To answer your question of if a graphic designer can just like make art and do it, yeah, 100%. But not even like, you don't even need to be a graphic designer. I don't know if y'all keep up with anything NFT related, but you might find the Pixelmon project to be a little bit entertaining. They recently, the long story short, the developer behind it built up a ton of hype for this Pixelmon community. Showed all these demos of a game that they were making, and he sold out the collection. I think there were 10,000 of them, and they cost 3 Ethereum each to buy one. And then right after it dropped, it was released that the guy paid for all of the artwork on, what's the site called, Owen? Upwork. He paid for all of the art on Upwork for a total of like $300, and then essentially just turned that art into NFTs, and then made people pay 3 Ethereum for it, rugged the project, and he's like nowhere to be found. So
That's smart.
yeah, so pretty much anyone can make an NFT, and like that's a great thing on one hand, but on the other hand, like there's a lot of bad actors out there. So
there's one of my favorite NFTs is this one called Olive Garden, or like Olive Garden. What's the word for it? When you franchises, and you can literally, I'll send it to you all. You can literally mint an Olive Garden like restaurant to be as the NFT, and then you can mint like unlimited breadsticks. It's like, it makes me laugh.
Yeah, that project, I love looking at that project because the first step in their roadmap was like actually secure partnership with Olive Garden.
So I was actually wondering, since like I know like there has been a lot of jokes circling around the internet about just like screenshotting NFTs and just like using that on their profile picture. Is it and I just didn't understand like the whole joke. Is it just because like there's a token attached to that artwork is what makes it unique, and like you can't just screenshot it, right? Like
yeah, so really I mean, I can give you an example right now. Like I challenge anyone to screenshot and show me their NFTs in a wallet like this. There's just no way, because this is a crypto wallet right here, and I can scroll down and see the non-fungible tokens that I have. So like I can click these and they're in my wallet. I don't give a shit if someone screenshots it, because like on the block, when I look at this, like this is what's showing me the blockchain, and when I look at the blockchain, I own the NFTs. They're there. So I don't. So it's really just a lack of understanding of like how ownership is represented on the blockchain.
Right, because I was thinking, I was like, you could easily like screenshot, you could like just pull out your phone, take a picture of the Mona Lisa. It doesn't mean that you own it, right? Yeah,
exactly.
So
it's just a different kind of ownership, and
right.
People don't seem to understand that just because like the art isn't the whole thing. Like just because you have a screenshot of the art doesn't give you ownership of it, and it also doesn't give you the functionality. Like a lot of NFTs nowadays. I'll use the project that I just demonstrated as an example. That project was called The Wild Bunch. And if you've ever heard of Warren Lotus, he's a fashion designer, and it's his NFT collection. And the point of it is to buy any of his new clothing drops, you have to have one of his NFTs to be able to like link in Web3 Connect to his website and be able to order clothes anymore. So you can screenshot the NFT, but unless he did get sued by Nike. But unless you own the NFT on the blockchain, you have no way of accessing those. You have no way of accessing those services. Essentially, he got sued by Nike because he made some fucking dope shoes that they were jealous of. That's why he got sued.
No, they were like Dunk knockoffs.
They were.
No, they were like Reapers instead of swooshes. It's kind of cool.
Well, yeah, like you can say like Bapesta copy like Air Force is, but
True. But yes, he did get sued by Nike, and that is how I first heard of him too.
I know y'all said that you've been like in the blockchain space for like a while. Like, how long did it take you to like actually feel like you could do something significant with it? Because like for me, like I have a CS background, but I like basically know nothing except the concepts of blockchain.
That's a great question. I'll answer first, and then I think Owen might have a decent answer too. But I learned about blockchain when I was really young. So I always knew I'm not like technically minded like y'all. I don't code, and I don't do any of that type of shit. I can only do like high level like ideas type of stuff. So for me, the way I got involved was like finding a project that I believed in and then finding a way to apply my skills to that industry. So I don't like directly build blockchains or like build decentralized applications. So it's a little different. But where I'm going with that is every skill has its space in Web3 and in crypto. Just like in every other industry where they need, accountants, they need people to audit code, they need legal counsel, they need marketing. Crypto is no different. Every single industry needs all those things. So even if for y'all, you are computer people, so you can be the ones like literally building the blockchains. But just as a note, like even if you aren't that type of person, like there's still space for you in crypto and Web3. Oh, and you're more technical on that side, so.
Yeah, so I think Max is definitely right, and like technically, you could start out at any point and just like start a blockchain company. Like you really don't need that much to get something together. Like specifically an NFT project, like really just like an artist, some art, and a Discord, and a way to hype people up. But I think, and I was part of a blockchain startup like last semester that was like, it was successful because we had like traction, but it wasn't actually like, we didn't have the experience. So I kind of have the experience of like going into something and not knowing what's really going on, like trying to learn, and also then joining Kwai, which is people that have had a lot more experience in the blockchain space, that have done a lot more research into this. And I think like for going from that experience, I think the best thing to do is to learn like JavaScript first, go to React, and then start going to Solidity if you think blockchain is great. But like I would say the first time that you want to like start building an actual company, like getting into it, is when you think that you've had the skills that you can actually like use. And like as soon as you have those skills, like you can get into it immediately. And I think something that's like also really great about learning JavaScript and React is if you don't want to do blockchain, those skills are so transferable. Like everybody needs front-end designers, and JavaScript is one of like the most popular languages, and there's so many applications for it. So I think that's like the best way to start. And then once you get those skills, you can actually get into coding blockchains. But yeah, Malik, do you have a question?
Yeah, I wanted to say like, I agree with you about like the JavaScript stuff, but I think my personal opinion is like, what's the difference between like Web 2 and Web 3? Because like basically Web 2 developers, aren't they the same as like Web 3 developers? Like you still need to know JavaScript and like HTML, CSS, and like React, and all the same like backend languages if you're gonna do the backend stuff. It just feels like it's like a hype, some like hype word to get people like to hop on a bit of like the newer technologies like Solidity or like smart contracts and stuff like that.
Yeah, so it is like really similar. Oh, sorry. I was going to say I do want to make a distinction. So within Web3, there's the people that are actually building decentralized applications, and a lot of those skills are just Web 2 skills with different backends. Like you can make a front end and then just have a Solidity backend, and it's basically the same thing as a web app. But then there are people like the people that I work for, like Alan and Shrikara, which are actually creating underlying technologies. And while they're still Web3 developers, they're not working in things like JavaScript or React. They're working in things like Go. They're working in the lower level languages like C++. And with those, they're using some of the same languages, but the applications of them are a lot different. And you still need to have the technical knowledge of how the blockchains interact. at a very deep level to actually code those. But Max, what were you gonna say?
Yeah, I think the one thing that's really important is like to actually define Web3, because people in like our space, like we throw it around a ton, and a lot of times we forget that, like, nobody really knows like what Web3 is yet. But if Web 1 was like servers and like the origins of the internet, Web 2 was social media and people being able to post content and, you know, everyone being able to contribute to the internet. Web 3 is essentially distributed ownership of the internet. So it's taking, like, if Twitter is Web 2, then Twitter where there's like some sort of decentralized ownership in the company itself, so it's not a centralized company, like that would be Web 3. So Web 3 is really, it's not about like what the technology is. I guess it's partially that, but it's more about the idea of decentralization and community ownership over centralization and trust. I don't know if that explains anything better. And the other thing that I wanted to say is that the front end for Web3 is the exact same as the front end for Web 2. Like there's functionally no difference. You still need a website for everything. So yeah, thank everyone for being here. I thank you for staying late, and yeah.
Dang it, we didn't tell them to join the Discord. But y'all should join the Discord, and y'all should try to send transactions on Quai.
I'll drop the link.
Yeah, we should. Yeah.
I have one quick question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, what is?
Hey, what's up,
like,
Beth? By the way,
how's it going, Owen? What do you think will be the greatest challenge for Quai for mass adoption for Quai?
So we're actually having a discussion with Ellen, who's one of the top or like the lead developer, and so Quai has 13 chains, and those smart contracts, when they get deployed, have to go on one chain. And so from a developer standpoint, you know, if you want to change chains, you kind of have to redeploy your smart contract, which is one thing that could kind of hamper adoption. Another thing is the fact that the users actually have to know which chains they're interacting with. And so that's just another level of complexity when people already don't understand blockchain. So that's something that we've kind of outlined as some of the big things. But Max, did you have anything else you wanted to add?
I think it's like, I think we're the best tech. I think I can confidently say that, but like we've been hearing for a long time, like, you know, the best tech doesn't always win. Layer ones are a pretty oversaturated industry right now. There's a lot of new layer ones coming out claiming that they're the future, that they're the ones that are going to reach mass adoption. So I think the biggest problem or challenge is going to be kind of differentiating ourselves from the crowd and making everyone realize why to pick Quai over the hundreds of other layer ones that are saying that they solve the same problems. So
yeah, interesting. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. I dropped the Discord link in the chat if anyone wants to hop in, help me boost my my invite stats.
Really informative.
Yeah, thank everyone for being here. We love talking about this stuff. We'd love to come back sometime.
Yeah, anytime. You have any more blockchain questions or want to get involved in the blockchain club or want us to teach anything or anything really, just let us know.
This is just the high level shit. So if y'all want us to really go in deep on something, just ask us. So I gotta run. Thank
you guys definitely did a great job. Like, that was a very thorough overview. Good job. It's hard to do.
Time span.
By the way, Beth, Max is one of the OG blockchain members and like one of the first people I met.
Oh.
And Max, I don't know if you know Beth, but she's the goat. She's really nice. She came to a lot of meetings this semester and some of them, or last semester and some of them this semester. She's really cool.
Thanks.
That's awesome. I feel like I might have met you at some point, but I might just not remember.
Probably.
But yeah, I met Owen Owen was like the day one blockchain dude that I met.
Yeah.
Literally, yeah.
That's facts, dude. And look where we are now, baby.
Yeah, look at us now. Yeah.
That's awesome.
It's actually really funny. The CEO of Kwai. Alan was the president of the club when we both joined. So I always find it funny that like no matter what, we still find ourselves working under him in blockchain.
Yeah. No, I was actually like just thinking, I was like, dang, like this club really has an impact. Like this is probably gonna be my job after college. So, you know.
Kwai is basically just like the alumni club for Texas Blockchain.
Yeah. Yeah. No, actually.
All right. Well, it was great speaking to y'all. I had an amazing time, and like always, if y'all want us to come back, we would love nothing more. So.
Yeah. Thanks for
Yeah,
showing
for
up.
sure.
Yeah, it was great to meet
appreciate
y'all.
y'all. All right, take care.
Yeah, catch y'all later.
Have a good one.
Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.
I guess everybody's left. And now it's the time to stop the recording.